Ghostbusters Empire is the fifth entry into the long 40-year plus Ghostbusters franchise. This time, Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the last film, Afterlife, moves from the director's chair just to the produce writing chair. Gil Keenan, who co-wrote the last film and co-writes this film, moves into the director's chair for this new entry into the Ghostbusters franchise. This movie takes place 2 years after Ghostbusters Afterlife. Once again, we catch up with the Spangler family, the descendants of Harold Ramis's character from the original two films. His daughter, played by Carrie Coon, her new basically boyfriend husband, played by Paul Rudd, and Coon's children, played by Finn Wolfhard and McKenna Grace. They are officially the new version of the Ghostbusters, and every day they now live at the estate and they try to catch ghosts on a daily basis in New York. Along the way as well, the original Ghostbuster team makes their way throughout the entire film. They are once again played by Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and Annie Potts. But in this film, a new, mysterious, villainous presence makes its way through the film that freezes New York during the spring-summer time. Part of the new cast of characters is Kumail Nanjiani as Nadeem, someone who becomes important as he's one who introduces the element that causes some harm in the movie. Patton Oswalt also makes a appearance in the movie as a librarian trying to help out the Ghostbusters. And also back from Ghostbusters Afterlife is Celeste O'Connor as Lucky, who's now interning with the Ghostbusters, and Podcast, played by Logan Kim, who is once again teaming up with Dan Aykroyd's character. The film is 1 hour and 55 minutes and is PG-13. Welcome back to a brand new movie review here on Microsoft Movies. We're talking about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. We got a lot of subscribers based off my How to Theater reaction. Let's keep that up with my review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I talk movies, TV shows, and box office, so please like, subscribe, comment down below. What is your ranking of the Ghostbusters franchise, including this one, or if you haven't seen this one yet, not including this one? Do you like this more or less than Ghostbusters Afterlife? And do you want to see a third film with this new cast of Ghostbusters? Also, please like the video, guys, the thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel. So I did a review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'll leave a link for that at the end of this review. But I'm one of the people who strongly defends that movie. I think that movie did a really good job balancing the fresh new Ghostbusters, which was really exciting that we're getting a new era of Ghostbusters, a new cast. The fact that they're going from a group of friends who were obviously the Ghostbusters back in the original two films, and now we're moving into a family business being the Ghostbusters. I found it to be very interesting. And then they did a really good job, I think, incorporating the OG cast of Ghostbusters and the really beautiful and heartfelt usage of the Harold Ramis and Egon's character from the original two films. I think that was a really great revitalization of an 80s franchise. Again, obviously 2016 Ghostbusters is not a part of this at all. But I was excited for this movie because I think they did a really good job revitalizing the franchise. But let's get into Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And what I'm going to say is I'm definitely disappointed by this movie because it just feels vastly different than the previous film in a bad way. The way I felt about the excitement and the balance of new characters and old characters and finding that balance of both. Yes, the Ghostbusters films are definitely comedies, but they also have a lot of heart in them and some scares and some creepiness. And I think this movie misses that the most, maybe, of the Reitman universe franchise. What I mean is the first two Ghostbusters and these last two films, because this film feels very unnecessary. And, these are the type of franchises now that are kind of being dumbed down and kind of sold out to a point where the OG characters are forgettable. And I think you can kind of add Ghostbusters now to the list following this film. This is not an awful film. This might not even be a bad movie, but it certainly isn't a good movie either. There are problems across the board. Now, overall, the best part about this movie is that the cast is very likable. I love the new Ghostbusters and McKenna Grace kind of being the lead character as well. McKenna Grace once again delivers. She's very good in this movie. She has a storyline that I was not a big fan, which I'll get to in a bit, but she was really good. Paul Rudd is one of my favorite comedic actors working today. And once again, he's very funny, very likable, very charming. He's someone that, you know, when he's on screen, the movie definitely pops more than when he is not on screen. I think of the OG cast, the only one who has anything to do in this movie is Dan Aykroyd. And Dan Aykroyd, once again, continues the reason why he's one of the co-creators of this entire franchise. And Aykroyd is terrific in the movie as well. Obviously, his great chemistry with the original cast of characters, but him and McKenna Grace also have, and as well as podcasts, have great, you know, Phoebe is played by McKenna Grace. Phoebe podcast and Aykroyd's character, you know, Ray Stantz, is also very good chemistry with each other. And I was definitely surprised by that heading into the movie. But everyone has chemistry with each other. Obviously, the movie is definitely fun. I was never bored throughout the runtime of the film. There's definitely some watchable elements, but overall, it just feels like a passable, generic studio franchise movie. There's and the reason why I'm saying that is that all of these movies now that try to balance new characters and old characters feel like this. And the word that I'm thinking of that really sums up this movie is overstuffed. This whole film comes down to the script. Now, Gil Kenan didn't really add much from the director's chair, but again, this movie all comes down to the script, which was once again co-written by both Gil Kenan, who directed this movie, and then Jason Reitman, obviously the son of Ivan Reitman, who revitalized the franchise by co-writing and directing Afterlife, chose not to return as a director, just as a co-writer. But that's the problem with this movie. There are so many characters that can't even fit onto this screen you see behind me, this poster. There's too many characters, and so many of them, around 90% of these characters, feel like they're on the sidelines, having no arcs, nothing to do with the movie. Finn Wolfhard and Carrie Coon are definitely the ones who feel the most distant from the movie. Wolfhard feels like he has nothing to do in this movie as Trevor. He kind of is on in the attic, and his whole bit that he's 18 years old and he's an adult now compared to his sister who's still a minor. Other than that, he has nothing to do. His relationship with Lucky, which was a big part of Afterlife, they're together on screen, but there's no continuation or growth of that dynamic throughout the entire film, nor is with Wolfhard with the rest of the cast. It kind of felt like they kind of had him while filming Stranger Things, but this was filmed way before they just started filming the new season of Stranger Things. So I don't know why they didn't really use Wolfhard that much. Carrie Coon just feels very forgettable in this film, not due to her performance. I'm a big Carrie Coon fan, but her character is just kind of mother in distress of her kids being in danger the whole movie. Of the original cast, as I said, other than Aykroyd, the rest of them are kind of throwaway. Ernie Hudson has a bit of a more intriguing role, but there's not a lot of screen time there to kind of understand where his character is since the original two films. Bill Murray is the most random character to have in this movie. Yes, he's Bill Murray. You want to have him if you're bringing back the original cast, but there was nothing there for him to do in this entire movie. He kind of just shows up and says, "Hi, I'm Bill Murray. I'll show up for these next 10 minutes of screen time." There just isn't any added element there. And then you not just you have to balance the original Ghostbusters and the new Ghostbusters, but the movie also has to throw in new characters like Kumail Nanjiani, Patton Oswalt, and this ghost character who's played by Emily Allen Lind, who was not even in the trailers. And there's so much going on. And what I'll say is from a subplot perspective, McKenna Grace was easily the standout of the previous film. She felt like Egon's granddaughter. And once again, she feels like that in this film. But Phoebe has this plot line in the movie, which on paper, the premise of it is a really smart idea for a Ghostbusters movie, this relationship that she has with this ghost. But the more the film goes on, reveals itself what this plot line is, it becomes more cliche, more forgettable, and something that I was just not interested in. And she's the lead character of the movie. And I felt like they could have had Phoebe doing a much more interesting thing. Still with this subplot with her and a ghost, but they chose, I think, the wrong path and the cliche route path for that character. Kumail Nanjiani, for me, I love Kumail, if you know of this channel. Big fan. He's very hit or miss with the comedy in this movie. And his character, once you know what his character does in the third act of the movie, it feels like he's in a completely different franchise. And it's like Sony had a franchise with this particular power set. And then they were like, well, we can't really fit him into that movie, so let's just throw him into a Ghostbusters movie. His character towards the end pulled me out of a movie feeling like I was in a Ghostbusters movie. It didn't make any sense. And a lot of this movie doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a lot of conveniences and, convoluted plot lines for conflict to happen, especially with Phoebe. The only way the villain becomes a major factor in this film, the third act, is because of a very convoluted thing that a character does. And it makes no sense why this character does it, other than so the villain can make his presence in the third act of the movie. There's no really jump scares. I never felt a sense of dread or of that eerie feeling that you did have in the original three, the first three Ghostbusters films. You don't really feel that sense of dread or eeriness throughout this film, because the film goes for a lot more comedy than it does taking itself seriously or have heart. So overall, it's a disappointing film because I really think they revitalized the franchise with Afterlife, but this makes me really nervous if they should make any more Ghostbusters movies soon. I think if they do make more Ghostbusters, they have to just focus on this new cast of family, the family of Spengler. And you know what? Sometimes you can't just balance nostalgia and newness. You might just have to get rid of the nostalgia to move on with the franchise. I do think maybe you can keep Aykroyd's character, but the majority of the OG characters just don't need to be in these films anymore. So overall, I'm going to give Ghostbusters Frozen Empire a 2.5 out of 5. I'm going to go 1% for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. What are your thoughts on this film? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you guys soon.